Are you wondering about what's going on in the real estate market these days? Well, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm going to review an article that I found while reading Inman News, which is a real estate trade publication. I think it's another great example of how you have to look past the headlines and read a little deeper to understand what's going on. There are also some interesting examples of how local markets vary dramatically, especially these days. So here's the big headline. Home price declines leave 450,000 borrowers underwater. Subtext, 6 out of 10 borrowers who owe more on their mortgage than their homes are worth bought or refinanced their homes in 2022, according to the latest Black Knight Mortgage Monitor. Let's dig in a little deeper. So, recent home price declines in many markets have left about 450,000 homeowners underwater without doing much to ease the affordability issues, according to numbers released Monday by data and analytics provider Black Knight. 6 out of 10 borrowers who are underwater, meaning they owe more on their mortgages than their homes are worth, bought or refinanced their homes in 2022, according to Black Knight. So, scroll down a little bit. While negative equity rates are far below historical averages, Ben Grabowski, who's the data and analytics president at Black Knight, said that there's a clear bifurcation of risk. Risk among earlier purchases is essentially non-existent. Now, here's an interesting graph that they put together. So you can see negative equity by year the loan was originated. And so if you look back, there's actually two pieces here. You've got limited equity, which is less than 10%, and then you have negative equity. So this goes all the way back to mortgages that were issued in the year 2000. You can see they're very low, and then there's still some residue from the run-up to the Great Recession. And then once they locked in and made sure that people actually had to qualify and be able to pay back their mortgage, as you can see, the numbers are very low. They took a little bump up and then whoosh. So let's dig a little deeper, because I think there are a few things to think about as we see stuff like this. So you can see that roughly 5% of the homes purchased or refinanced this year are underwater, and another 19% have less than 10% equity. Well, a large proportion of borrowers, particularly first-time buyers, put down relatively small down payments, 5, maybe 10%. So if you have a turn in the market, in markets where prices have gone down, let's say 5% or 10%, you could certainly have somebody who started out with a low down payment that goes negative right off the bat. By comparison, only 1% of homes purchased or refinanced in 2021 are underwater, while 3% have less than 10% equity. All told, Black Knight estimates that about 1 million homeowners have limited equity in their homes, which means less than 10%. Now, here's an interesting number. If you take a step back and look at the big picture, at 0.84%, so less than 1%, negative equity rates among all mortgage properties remain extremely low by historic standards, as Black Knight noted. But home buyers with FHA and VA mortgages are more likely to be skating on thin ice, since generally they can purchase homes with little or no money down. FHA loans generally are 3.5%. VA, if you have a VA entitlement, you can basically get into a house for no money down. So Black Knight's data shows that more than 20% of home buyers who took out an FHA or VA purchase this year are underwater, and 2/3 have less than 10% equity. Again, if you've got most of those buyers put 3.5% down as a maximum, then they're certainly going to be below 10%, even if the market was flat. Here was another interesting piece. The national delinquency rate for first mortgages was up 12 basis points from September to October to 2.91%. But part of that was driven by Hurricane Ian, where it drove up delinquencies in Florida by 53 basis points to 3.42%. This is a graph that charts home price declines from the 2022 peak in some major markets. And you can see they go all the way from San Francisco with 13.1% down to Washington, D.C. with 3.8%. If you'd like access to your own up-to-date information about what's happening in our local market, right down to the zip code level, click on the link below, type in your name, email address, and the zip code you'd like to follow, and we'll get you set up. Once you've got access, you can also check out areas all around the country, just in case you've got real estate somewhere else, or maybe you're thinking about making a move. So here's another chart that I thought was interesting, and it highlights something about different localities. So this is the share of mortgaged homes with negative equity by market. And so you can see here's the DC market, comes in at about 45%. Again, these are for loans that were originated this year. But this was interesting, and as I read further in the article, it sort of gave some backup to this. If you look at these markets here, so this would be Colorado Springs, Honolulu, Virginia Beach, and Bakersfield. So these three markets in particular have a lot of, or a very high military presence, and military families tend to use their VA entitlement to get financing. So that means they're getting in for a very low down payment or no down payment, which means that as soon as the market turns, they're going to go into negative equity. And so if reading this, you can see that San Jose has seen price declines that are as steep as any market, steeper than many, but a small proportion of the houses, only 2.4%, are underwater because the prices are so high in San Jose that almost everybody, or a large majority of people, have a jumbo mortgage, which means they have to put more money down, a higher percentage down. It's usually going to be 20%. So if the market turns, they had more built-in equity because of their higher down payment. But in markets like Colorado Springs and Honolulu, where more than 30% of the homes purchased in 2022 are now underwater, a lot of that is driven by the fact that there's a very high concentration of VA loans because of the high military presence. Then here was a list of the top 10 least affordable markets, and as you can see, quite a few of them are in California, and with the exception of the New York market and Florida, they're all pretty much out west. And then here's a list of the top 10 most affordable markets, major metros. And you can see that most of them are in the Midwest. There's a couple of exceptions. You've got Pittsburgh and Baltimore right up the road. Here's an interesting chart that tracks actual inventory and the change in inventory today versus 2017 to 2019, which is what they're using as sort of a baseline. So here you can see the actual numbers, which is the dark blue patch, and then the green line is the change versus 2017 to 2019. And as you can see, we're down 30% in terms of actual total inventory. And the spread between today and back in 2017 to 2019 is almost 40%. So, some interesting information there about the differences in what's happening in some of the major metro areas and how some of the mortgage issues in the article are driven by differences in the prevalent types of financing in those areas. If you've got any questions about what's happening in the local market, my contact information is below. Feel free to call, text, or email me. I'm happy to chat. If you'd like to see a recent video that I did taking a look at some data provided by Lisa Sturdivant, who's the chief economist at Bright MLS, click over here. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel so that you're updated as soon as new videos come out, click over there. And I'll see you on the next one.